Hello and welcome back to Nerdmageddon here on KZLX LP Maryville and on the KNWT Facebook page. Thanks for hosting us. I'm your host Simon Clark. With me I have
Molly Hauser. I'm actually wearing Northwest gear for like once in my life.
Right? Normally you're wearing like a band t-shirt, which is what I'm wearing, ironically. However, our two other mainline hosts are not here tonight, so we have our lovely and wonderful producer, Mr. Ben Lester.
Hello. I'm not wearing a Northwest shirt. I'm wearing a pink shirt, which is not. It's just a nice pink button-up because I felt fancy today.
You talked about your pink shirt all day today.
I think I look good.
I mean, yeah.
Not to hype myself up, but...
No, I totally get it. Anyway, instead of doing news this week, we are going to do something a little bit more fun. In lieu of the new Spider-Man trailer coming out, we decided to go on to tiermaker.com, and we're ordering our favorite Spider-Man movies in order. So this includes the 3 Tom Holland movies.
Two Tom Holland movies.
Two Tom Holland
Tobey
movies.
Maguires.
3 Tobey Maguires, yeah. Two T names. I'm out of it. Then the 2 Andrew Garfields, and then Into the Spider-Verse, the animated one. So, without further ado, we will go ahead and just kind of go down the line and explain our rankings. So, who would like to start?
We starting at the top and moving down, or down and then up?
I think we should start down and then up,
Work our way up?
I think it'll get more contentious as we get higher up. Because I feel like we all share the same ideas for the bad one. Mm-hmm. So, like...
Do we just want to say? Because I have a feeling I know what all of our answers are for the bad ones.
Possibly. Okay.
Sitting right at the D tier.
Yeah, D to F tier.
I have Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3.
Okay. I mean, I have Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I agree. It's not that great. It's not great.
Really not
Molly,
good.
what do you have on your lowest tier?
So at F, I have Spider-Man 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Sense.
I sort of, in a charming way or in a messed up way, I sort of like Spider-Man 3. It's kind of cute. Minus, you know.
It's got good things in it.
It does have good things. And then there's Venom.
And it really wrecks that movie.
It really does. But
see, I had to rank it last because the one thing that sticks in my mind is Tobey Maguire going down the street, snapping his finger, just being, ooh,
see, look,
no.
that was completely unwritten in the script for most of the planning process. And then one producer came in, and he was just like, kids really love Venom.
Let's put Venom in this movie, even though we're, like, however long into production, and everybody's like...
They were already, like, a full year into production.
Yeah.
It was not.
But when you're paying for the movie...
Yeah.
Because, like, Spider-Man 3, like, the Sandman stuff is so good.
It is.
It's really good
story.
Writing and acting. And then they're like, what if this goop came from the sky and made Peter Parker change his hairdo and dance? And you're like, why is this in a movie? This is bad.
Why does this matter? I mean, they did technically kind of introduce Gwen Stacy, but very
she just
briefly.
becomes blonde MJ. She doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I know.
She just gets kidnapped.
That's it.
That's all that she ever does.
I did like James Franco as Goblin, or Hobgoblin.
No, it's New Goblin, Simon.
I hate that they renamed that. It's supposed to be Hobgoblin.
It's definitely supposed to be Hobgoblin, but everyone likes New Goblin because you know what was cool at the time? Airsoft masks and snowboards. Yeah, and snowboards that are flying.
Yeah.
God, that movie's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, I totally understand that. But yeah, Spider-Man 2, on the topic of that, since we both have it on there.
I'm curious to see where Molly had it. I'll wait to hear what Molly's opinions on Spider-Man 2 are
when we get further
up to wherever she's placed it.
For me, there's so many different moving parts to it. Like, we were told that we were going to get 3 villains in it, and we're like, oh, that's so cool. They're building up the Sinister Six. Mm-hmm. And then we got mostly Electro for most of the movie, which... I mean, all respect to Jamie Foxx. He's an amazing actor, amazing musician. This was not it, man. This is not it, Chief, man.
It really isn't.
It's not good.
It's so... His performance is one of the strangest things on Earth, where he hates Spider-Man because Spider-Man doesn't remember his birthday or something.
Yeah.
And he's probably insane, but, all the Spider-Man villains are insane. So
And
That
some
tends
degree.
to be the train.
yeah, the trend, yeah.
Yeah, and then the gross goblin that they made at like the very end was not fun.
And it's so weird because they got good actors to play these parts. Like Dane DeHaan, in theory, should be able to play a good Green Goblin. And then they're like, our Green Goblin costume is going to be random bits of metal that we stick out of him, and then we're going to paint his face like he's got moss on it. And that's going to be Green Goblin.
It was like this whole disease thing.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's like 9 movies in one.
Yeah, and then literally like at the end, right before the credits, is the Rhino.
Yeah.
Which is just some Russian dude in a giant mech suit.
Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti in a mech suit.
It's so bad.
Man, that movie was not good.
It's so rough, that movie. But I'm happy that it's bad because it gave us Tom Holland.
Yes, it did.
That is true.
And it's so bad. So wait, Simon, you're telling me you don't like Oscorp's basement of Spider-Man villains?
No, it's so weird. Why are they
they're all in
Spider-Man
cases?
villains?
They're like, look at these wings and octopus arms. We don't know why we have them, but that way you can sit in the movie and go, oh, it's Doc Ock. I know who that is.
Yeah.
And
Hey, I
that's
know
it.
that. It's just,
Theoretically, they were going to start kidnapping people to take those things
exactly.
and then become villains.
see, that makes sort of sense,
but that's the best thing about a villain is when they're basically so bland that they're just given a thing and they can use it. That's what the Spider-Man villains are good because they like make their things and they have their struggles. Otto Octavius works as a bad guy because he made the arms to help people.
he made the arms.
As we'll get to later, I'm sure.
We will, absolutely. Moving on up to the next tier. I mean,
C
we
tier.
both had C tier up next. Did you have
Yeah.
C tier?
C tier. Okay.
So, starting with Ben, what do you got in here?
I put the first Amazing Spider-Man movie at C tier.
Me too. I also put the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, the one with the lizard. Man,
I did as well.
Do you also put it up
I
there?
have not seen The Amazing Spider-Man, though, so I just gave it a C.
That's,
You know what? That's fair.
That's fair.
It deserves a C. It's not bad, but it's also not good.
It's not very good either.
No.
I like how it's a different bad guy that we hadn't seen on film before. I think
Right?
that's super interesting.
Right?
I think Andrew's a very good choice.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too handsome to be a Peter Parker, but I guess we also have Tom Holland. Like, if Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was at your school, he would not be like a shy loner. He'd literally be the most popular person because
He'd be that yearbook
smoking
kid
hot.
who was also on like student council.
Yeah,
and just knew
exactly.
everyone.
Yes, 100%. He wouldn't be like walking around like a loner, creeping on Gwen Stacy, taking pictures of her without her knowledge.
Seriously?
Also, wasn't there
he's
this
like-
weird? Wasn't there
his
this weird
background is
massive
her.
like this weird massive like thing about it was that Gwen Stacy was like, wasn't there like an age gap between them? Like
There's
she
a-
was
there's like
she
a-
was like
no.
an internship.
But I think they're like all doing a high school internship or something, or that's like a gifted
okay.
science
Gifted
thing,
science program, yeah.
Because that's like how you get. That's the only way you can get Peter involved with, like
woman.
an Oscorp, yeah, and a woman
And a
basically.
woman.
That isn't Aunt May,
Yeah,
not the woman that he lives with.
yeah. Man, no, I mean,
And I like the casting. I mean, some people know I'm a massive fan of The West Wing, so
Yeah.
I love Martin Sheen, and I think he's a great choice for Uncle Ben. But then, like, he gets so close to giving the great power, great responsibility speech, but he's like, he doesn't quite say it. He kind of like
Yeah.
skirts around the topic of with great power comes great responsibility, and you're like, I mean, I guess you kind of got to the point, but
well, they get to that in the second movie with the weird underground tunnel
oh my
thing.
god, yeah,
It's so it was
it's
bad.
so dumb.
I give it a C just because if it's on, I might watch it at least enough to
Yeah.
get to the point where I'm like,
Yeah,
all right, whatever.
there's some good bits in it. I like when he's going out for the first time and he's like with that mugger and the guy flashes the knife at him and he's like, oh my
no,
god, my
knife."
weakness, small knives. And then he does the thing where he pretends to sneeze, but he web whips at the same time, so he sneezes the guy.
It's good. Yeah.
So funny.
remember
Very
that.
nice.
Were there any other ones that you had on there, Molly?
I did. So what I did is I gave all the 3 Spider-Man movies I have not seen
Okay,
C.
that works.
That works. That works.
Because I can't say if they're good or not
Yeah.
besides online opinions that I've seen.
Yeah.
So Far From Home, Amazing Spider-Man, and Amazing Spider-Man 2 got C from me.
Okay. I mean,
I highly recommend you watch them, even just once.
even just once, and I mean,
I'll get to my thoughts on Far From Home later.
here's the thing. I I haven't seen Far From Home either, but I still know enough of it that I can place it somewhere else. So I get where you're coming from.
Are you guys aware of the plots of most of these movies?
Yeah.
Just so in case
Vaguely,
I talk about things.
Yes.
I know more
Okay.
about Far From Home than I do about either of the Amazing
Okay, that's
Spider-Man
fine, because
movies.
Far From Home is the only one I'm concerned about speaking about, because
Yeah.
I'm out of thoughts on Amazing Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. All right. Hopping up on the next tier on
B tier. Yeah.
This is where I place Spider-Man 3.
Interesting choice.
Interesting.
Very interesting choice.
Here's the reason why. Sandman. I love Sandman.
Yeah, that's true.
I also love James Franco.
That's totally fair.
The only issue was Venom, and I also
I just thought of another scene. Continue your thought, and I'm going to give you another reason to drop that back down.
I talk a lot about this, but during that time is when Blu-ray came out.
That's fair.
And during that time, the color shift from yellow tones into blue and dark tones.
Yeah.
It was so weird for people because they were just like, boom, look at this.
Yeah.
And now they're just like, it just threw them off, and I don't feel like that they were immersed in the movie the way they should have been.
Yeah.
Now, if it was back in the original, like yellow, reddish kind of green tinted tones, then it would have worked. But they just threw the blue and blacks in so fast that there was no seamless merge there at all.
The Spider-Man 3 has good things in it, but it is automatically discounted because of two scenes. The first one being Eddie Brock, what was the name of that show? That 70s show, Eric Foreman, Topher Grace, in church begging God to kill Peter Parker. Because
I completely forgot about that.
I did not remember
Peter
that.
Parker got him fired from the Daily Bugle, so he's like, "Dear God, please kill Peter Parker."
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And then the scene when, and I just remembered this and why it's bad, the scene that's like way too long, and it's Peter talking to Aunt May, and she's giving that story about how she like swam to this beach with this guy, and they would lay out in the sun all day. And it's this really weird long scene about, I think it's how her and Uncle Ben like fell in love. But it's basically this whole story about like wanting to propose to MJ.
Right.
And I'm like, God, this is boring. Why is this in a movie?
I do believe that Spider-Man deserves a love life. Absolutely.
I completely
He does.
agree.
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve a happy love life, but he deserves a love life.
When he goes to his grandmother age Aunt May for love advice.
Oh my God. Well, you mean 45-year-old, 23-year-old
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire Spider-Man going for love advice from his literally elderly aunt?
Yeah. It's just weird. I feel weird about it.
It's such a rough movie.
Yeah. What about you guys? What did you have in B tier?
I've been going a lot first, Molly, so you go ahead.
I had Spider-Man 2. I
Spider-Man
don't remember
2.
much about it, but I remember generally liking it.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh.
I've got
I have very specific opinions about Spider-Man 2.
I also have some thoughts on Spider-Man 2.
I totally get it.
That's the only thing you put on B tier with Spider-Man 2?
Okay.
I have
I'll take it.
Spider-Man 1, the original,
Okay.
and Spider-Man Homecoming.
Tell me about Homecoming.
I like both of these movies a lot, actually, but I just don't think that in comparison to some of the other ones on this list, that they're as good. Homecoming, I like a lot. I think it's a very fun movie, mainly, I think, because of Tom Holland's performance and Michael Keaton's performance as the Vulture. I mean, that's why you watch them. But like, kind of going back, some of the jokes fall flat.
I'm thinking of the scene where as soon as the Vulture's daughter gets out of the car, he literally points a gun to Peter Parker's face.
That whole
just,
scene is so good.
It's such a good scene, and I think back to it, I'm like, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but it's really funny.
That whole build-up of them talking, and the light switches on Michael Keaton's face of the red, and then it turns green when he's like, oh, I know that you're Spider-Man, because you're sitting here sweating you're literally a puddle in the backseat of my car because I'm talking about Spider-Man with you.
Oh my God, it was so good.
I like Spider-Man. I really like the scene where he's stuck in that vault and he's just testing out the suit. I think that's a really fun scene, and it kind of shows a little bit more of the really smart side of Peter.
Yeah.
I like it occasionally, but in this movie, I've now come to the point where I don't like that he's like, I'm Iron Man's friend. I'm going to be friends with Iron Man. And I'm like, I get that. It makes sense sometimes, but I like the montage kind of towards the beginning of the movie, which is like him helping a woman with her bike and like thinking this guy's like trying to jack a car, but it's just a guy who locked his keys in his car.
That was a really good scene and montage.
There's some good bits in there.
I like he's standing on that building and that guy's like, Spider-Man, do a flip. And he just does a flip and the guy's like, yeah.
I love you, Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that, yeah.
Because it's just fun because that's what Spider-Man should be. Spider-Man should be like just
it's a goofy kid.
Yeah,
it's a goofy 16-year-old kid. Absolutely.
But okay, I also now I'm remembering Homecoming has the scene where he goes into the bank to try to stop those robbers.
Hey, you aren't the Avengers.
Yeah, and he's trying, you can see him like try to adjust himself against the door frame so that way he looks cool when they turn around. And it's like the most like very clearly this is a 15-year-old trying to be cool.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Honestly, yeah, I totally get that, and I actually personally put Homecoming and the first Spider-Man movie in A.
Okay. Is that were those your two choices for A, or did you have another?
I had another. I had a third choice, and that was Far From Home.
I also had Far From Home in the A tier.
See, now my main reason, even though I haven't seen it, I've seen everything that it alludes to, and it's basically the opening gateway to Spider-Man in the MCU fully. Like that's kind of what. That's kind of like his establishing film.
Far From Home or Homecoming?
Far From Home.
Far From Home's not his establishing in the MCU.
Establishing as in like, man, he is really in this now.
I understand what you're saying. Yes,
there's an actual issue in the MCU with him now. And I mean that's like tie back to the comic with like Secret Wars and Tony trying like urging him to come out. And it was rough. It was a bad scene.
I've heard about some of the stuff that's happened.
The Secret Wars comics is upsetting.
Yeah,
it goes
pretty well. But Far From Home, I just got to speak a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
I know it's Taylor Swift season.
Oh no!
But
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal is so good in that movie. He's so good in it.
I'm upset
as
because
Mysterio.
Since I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Like. My fiance loves Taylor Swift, and she watched the All Too Well thing, and she's been going around going like, "We don't stand Jake Gyllenhaal in this house," and I'm like, "But we have to watch this.
It's such a good movie.
We have to watch this."
You have to watch it.
It's such a good movie.
She's begrudgingly going to do it, and I'm just like, "You shouldn't have tainted this." Yeah. I know that we already knew that he wasn't a good guy from the original.
He's so good.
But with this 10-minute extra version, of course he's gonna be shown to be a worse person.
Yeah.
Like, the story is all out now. Yeah. I don't know.
I also had Spider-Man 2 on this list, but I also want to hear what Molly put in the A category as well.
I put Spider-Man Homecoming there because I really enjoyed that movie for a lot of the reasons that we've already talked about, but also just because it felt closer to, and we kind of touched on this, but like it felt closer to what I had seen Spider-Man characterized in like comic panels I'd seen and people posting about like what comic Spider-Man was like. And it was just really fun to see, not necessarily a younger version because like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was kind of around that age, but like a more energetic and also like seeing him tied into the MCU.
It's so much fun. I know I just ragged on Iron Man Jr. a little bit.
Iron Man Jr.
But also like
it is very important. I love that they don't do the Uncle Ben trope. Like, that's a great thing.
I'm
it's
so glad
it's his establishing solo movie, and they don't do the Uncle Ben. And I think that worked really well for them.
I'm so glad we didn't see that old man get shot again. I'm so sorry.
He would have been in like his 20s or 30s because Aunt May is not old.
She's not that old.
Another thing that I want to add on to this is that the Shocker in it,
in Homecoming,
horrible villain. They did him so dirty.
Yeah,
they did him so dirty. He's such a good character.
Vulture's so good though.
Vulture is perfect, and I love that.
So good in that movie though.
Another thing, Childish Gambino's in it, man.
Childish Gambino is in it.
He's in it. He's Uncle Aaron.
We
love that guy.
He's Miles Morales' uncle, which is
the Prowler,
which is awesome.
Supposedly. I don't think that's going to be a thing in the Spider-Man movies in the future.
I bet it's coming.
I hope it's coming.
I bet it's coming. There's no way they're not. Miles Morales is such a massively popular character. I mean, he's huge. He's very many people's favorite Marvel character. And this is
Miles Morales actually. Up into S tier. I've kind of been glancing at everybody's.
I have something else for A before we get up into S.
Yeah, go for it.
This is off the list, but I'd like to throw the airport scene from Civil War and his bedroom
Okay.
scene, his actual introduction, because I think that is
It's wonderful.
phenomenal.
It's a great
It's so
intro
good.
scene. Yeah.
I love his little interaction with the shield, and I love the fact that he and Captain America have a little conversation about where they're from.
Yeah.
Love the fact that he still tries, that he ends up
Yeah.
getting Ant-Man down through an Empire Strikes Back reference, which we always love to see.
Yeah.
I
Man.
loved all of his quips in that scene, in like
it's
that
so
whole
good.
Absolutely.
And that
scene,
suit
yeah.
is good. We haven't
classic.
had a red and a blue for a while, and I'm a little missing a red and a blue suit. I love a good classic Spider-Man suit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's popping up into S tier.
Yeah, popping up into S tier, Miles Morales. I've been peeking around. We all have Amazing Into the Spider-Verse
Spider-Man
Yeah.
into the Spider-Verse.
in the S tier, and it's undoubtedly one of the best animated films ever.
It's a masterpiece.
It's so good. There's so many working layers in it, and I'm so glad we all agree on that.
Yeah.
At least
I
the
mean,
Prowler was wonderful too.
all of it, everything
Oh my
about it,
God.
all of the casting, all of the characters for Spider-Man that they chose. Getting Nick Miller, Jake Johnson to
Yeah.
be depressed,
Yeah.
broken Peter Parker is
Yeah.
literally
And then-
perfect.
I saw this post recently about Peter B. Parker and how
Yeah.
even like he sucks at being Peter Parker, but he's an amazing Spider-Man.
So good
It
at
is.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it's awesome, and it's like, for some reason, when he was the first Spider-Man to show up, I'm like, there's no way that it's just like some same old guy, and then we saw everything. I'm like, oh, this guy is not okay.
He's not.
He's not doing well.
Every time I've seen it, it makes me cry.
Uncle Aaron's scene.
Uncle
makes me
Aaron seems
cry.
really good. I really, really, really like MJ's speech to everybody about how anybody can be Spider-Man, and it has that
Yeah.
shot of everybody with the Spider-Man masks on.
Oh,
It's so,
oh,
and then
hurts.
and then Stan Lee's cameo where he's like, "It always fits eventually," and I'm just like, "Oh, Stan Lee,
It
we
hurts.
love and miss you
It
every day.
hurts. Yeah.
Every day we love and miss you."
Oh, I'm remembering those scenes now, and it does hurt.
It's such a good movie.
I do want to say one more thing on Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
I keep going back to the Prowler, but the Prowler's theme is
Oh my god,
bone-chilling. It's so good.
So good. This whole movie,
terrifying.
everything about this movie,
Yeah.
all of the casting, getting Chris Pine to be like Miles's universe's version of Spider-Man, who's like really, really, really good at this. Is so good.
Yeah.
Peter B. Parker, who's been Spider-Man for so long that he's over it, and he's like
Christmas albums and
yeah, Christmas albums, and it's the part where it's like one of
He's
my
got a
favorite.
gut.
Yeah, he's got a gut, and he's talking about how when they're talking about the little flash drive with the whatever on it, the code, yeah, the goober, and he's
The
like,
goober.
it's always an end of the world key or the safety key, and he's like, I just started calling it a goober because it was
Yeah.
easier for me, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, it's so great.
it's perfect.
They're in the vents and they're listening in on the conversation, and he's like, okay, now listen. He's about to say, you have 24 hours. And then Kingpin's like, you have 24 hours. And
Yeah.
he's just nailing every conversation.
Man,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The animation's so pretty.
So,
It is.
there are two movies missing for Molly and I, and
Yeah.
we both have another one in S tier. Molly, what's yours?
I have OG Spider-Man.
I totally
it's
understand.
Got a very special place in my heart.
It's a good
was,
movie.
I think, the first superhero movie I'd ever seen.
Same.
Yeah, for a lot of
Um,
people.
And it, like, I love Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man in that.
Yeah.
It's Goblin's great. Also
Goblin's
just
perfect. Willem Dafoe is the only goblin for me. He's perfect.
looking back now, I mean, just
It's ridiculous.
the meme treasure trove
That it is.
That it
It's
is.
amazing.
Yeah.
That Spider-Man one is. I mean,
You know, I'm somewhat of a scientist myself.
I'm something of a scientist myself. Is
so good.
is perfect. It's,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
There's that.
Just
and
it's so comic booky.
absolutely.
It's
absolutely.
it's
Um,
so much of a comic book movie.
Yeah. So the last one for me is Spider-Man 2. I put it on the top of my S tier
Also a good
because
movie.
solely for Doc Ock and Alfred Molina's performance as Doc Ock, literally nobody else can be him
Yeah,
because of him.
he's
It's just perfect, and he is my one of my favorite Spider-Man villains ever.
that movie's so
And he's
good.
just so good, and it shows like redeemable villains, and
it
I
really
think that's
does.
what's important.
It does a good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's such a good movie.
Well, I think that is all the time that we have
Yeah.
for this
Spider-Man.
segment here. I want to thank you all for watching so much. This is the end of the semester for some of our friends here. Brad, our co-producer, is going to be leaving us this semester, so big thank you to Brad Pearson. Thank you to all of the engineers who work with us. Thank you all for watching. And as always, you nerd it here first.